Well, good evening. I am Christopher, the curator of the End of Life Archive 2.0, supporting the Recognize Our Pride Instagram page where they highlight queer members of the Divine Nine organizations. I'm in conversation today with Victor. How you doing, Victor?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Just tired, in fact, but tired. I just wanted to first thank you for being so willing to share your story. Thank you for allowing us to be a witness, and hopefully you sharing your story will allow somebody to get free by hearing it.
Oh, that's beautiful. No problem.
Thank you. So I want to start and begin with how do you identify yourself, Victor?
So I identify as Black, Southern, pan, queer, educator, brother, son, all those things.
Where are you in the South?
I'm originally from Jackson, Mississippi. I currently live in Boston, Massachusetts.
Cool. Did you go to Jackson State?
I did. I went to Jackson State.
Oh, okay, that's really cool. My mentor in college went to Jackson State. He's an Omega.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I support the alumni group in Harlem.
Okay.
So I'm ready. That's it. So talk to us about how you came to the truth about your identity, right? So when you started identifying as a Black pansexual person.
So growing up in Mississippi, these things were not necessarily always in your face. So like we definitely always had Black queer people in community, kind of on the peripheral. So if you squint your eye, tilt your head to the left, and like pay close attention, you can kind of like point them out and see and be a part of those conversations. So I started to do that at a very young age and realized like, oh, okay, this person is really a nice person, but not a lot of people hang out with them, and like kind of off center, but I feel like I'm kind of off center. So that was a very young age. It wasn't until middle school, and I went to middle school in Vicksburg, Mississippi, that there were these two queer people, queer guys in middle school, and they were like openly queer, openly flamboyant, where they would have like 5-inch inseam shorts, like their khaki pants in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, these people are kind of cool, but I was really afraid to like hang out with them. And then I befriended one of the guys, and he was super cool. And that is really what sparked like, okay, you're different.
So how were queer people treated in Texas, Mississippi?
How was what?
How were queer people treated in Mississippi?
Oh, absolutely horrible. Particularly queer Black people and queer Black people that don't come from money.
Okay.
That experience was very, very, very difficult for me. So it was a lot of, again, how I noticed the people on the peripheral, I became one of the people on the peripheral.
Okay.
Just kind of in community, but on the peripheral community, trying to find my way, trying to make my way, wanting to do certain things. But like it being like, oh, if you want to do this, you can't be openly queer. If you want to be this, you can't be openly queer. You have to hide it. You have to like mask up and bush up yourself so that you don't come off as undesirable by mainstream society. And that was something I faced from.
You give me some examples.
One of the biggest examples was in college. And I went to Jackson State, which was not queer friendly when I went to Jackson State. It was not queer friendly at all. I went between the years of 2009 and 12. Okay. 2012. It was not queer friendly, and I can remember having like older professors who were queer tell me, you know, if you want to go far, you gotta be in the closet. You can't necessarily be out and be an academic.
Oh, okay. How did that feel, hearing that?
It felt horrible because by college, I started to become a bit of a queer activist. So it felt absolutely horrible to hear that. And it was a lot of that around. So it's nuance in that It was around colorism. It was around the fact that I'm 5'8". I'm not like 6'3". I'm 5'8". I'm 215 now, but back then I was a buck 20.
Okay.
And I was queer. So I just did not check any of the boxes of what a dark-skinned man from the South is supposed to present and look like.
Okay.
This Morris Chestnut, 6'3", muscle bound, hyper
Mm.
masculine person that didn't get it for me. And I wasn't those things. So, and then add queerness on top of that, it just felt like no matter how smart I was, no matter how hard I worked, these things were always going to be stacked against me. And it really felt desolate, and I didn't. It wasn't a happy time. College wasn't super happy for that.
So how did you find and build your community for yourself? Who supported you during this season?
Oh, I joined the theater club.
Okay. How was
Yeah,
that?
all the queers are in the theater club. So I got into the theater club. I was a theater major, but I joined the theater club, and just found different people around me that were living in their truth and expressing themselves, and just stopped caring about what mainstream society thought of them. I saw these guys were making their own opportunities and giving it to each other, by way of employment and livelihood. So this is another thing, like it wasn't just acceptance, it was also employment. It was also like making a life for yourself. And a lot of folks were kept out of that because of their gender presentation and sexuality. But seeing these folks take care of each other and build that community, and that didn't happen to like sophomore year of college, where these older Black queer guys at Jackson State kind of took me under their wing and was like, "Oh, come here, child. Let us help you."
How did it feel? How did it feel to be loved that way after feeling this salute about your experience in being Black and queer in Mississippi?
It was a sigh of relief. It was, okay, I can do this thing. I can be proud of myself. I can be proud of who I am. I can be an activist and speak up for queer rights and queer students on campus, and have friends, and have people that are looking out for me and my well-being. Um, which was also very new, to have like a group of friends looking out for me and my well-being.
So how was the coming out inviting in story?
How was the what?
The inviting in coming out story.
Oh, my coming out story?
Or inviting in, yeah.
So in college, I was out from like freshman week of college, and I'm asking questions about like, how do we take care of our queer students in this space? That kind of outed me in college from freshman year on. I didn't come out to my parents until I was living in Rhode Island, Providence, Rhode Island, and that was like 2014.
Okay.
I marked myself at a club. Social media, it got back to my parents, and they called and was like, or my dad called and was like, "What the hell are you doing in a gay club?" And by then, I had moved away from home, about 1,500 miles across the country. And I was like, "Yo, if you're gonna talk like that, we'll never see each other again."
How old were you at this point?
I was 24. I had been living in Providence for about a year and just experiencing the freedom of being up north rather down south, and how queerness was widely accepted and incorporated into society. It wasn't on the peripheral. But then I had done conferences at Brown, like the Black Lavender Countries at conference at Brown with E. Patrick Johnson. I don't want to name drop. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to name drop like that.
I'm sorry, Flex. It's not a bad Flex. You know, E. Patrick E. Johnson.
E. Pat had took me under his wing, and like just experiencing that acceptance in that way, and from elder queer people, and that you can be in mainstream society and not always on the periphery. You don't have to live your life as an apology. And that really is what prompted me to be like, I'm going to mark myself at this club because I'm getting my life as a 24-year-old. By then I was like a buck 60. So like I'm getting my life as this 24-year-old in Providence.
Your big twink fantasy. Your big twink fantasy in the big city.
Look, and Providence not even that big of a city, but I was up north and I was like getting my life, and that is what made me tell like my father specifically, like I don't ever, because I'm self-sufficient at this point, I'm independent, so I'm like I don't ever have to come home to put up with this stuff. So if you want to have a relationship with me, it is by choice at this point. I am choosing to have a relationship with you.
So how many years ago was this? Like 8 years ago? 5 years ago?
That was about 9 now. Wow. 2014.
You're 32.
I'm 33.
33. Got it. So where do you feel the most safe at as being a Black queer person?
Where do I feel the most safe at?
Mm-hmm.
Black queer clubs, Black queer gathering spaces, whether it's like Black queer men leaning or lesbian leaning. I just love being in Black queer spaces. It don't have to be a club. It could be like a drag brunch, or it can be a conference, or anything that is centering Black queerness is just so safe to me. And just to see people in their full humanity being brilliant. That's another thing. In Mississippi, I only experienced Black queerness in like club settings and social gatherings. To see folks in academia writing about Black queerness just being brilliant changed my life.
Where was the first time you were in a all Black queer space? Do you remember it?
Like yesterday.
Okay, tell me about it.
18 years old. There was this club called, I don't know how familiar you are with Mississippi. There's this club called City Lights. Way back in the day. Way, it's not even around yet. It's been gone for like 8 years now.
Okay.
But City Lights. And a friend picked me up from high school. I was at a residential high school in Mississippi. So I lived on campus as a boarding school. And a friend picked me up. I was like an hour outside of Jackson. So we drive an hour into Jackson. And I am, butterflies are in my stomach. I am so nervous. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to see anybody I know. I'm not out yet. I don't see anybody I know. And I get into City Lights. And guess who the first person I see?
Who?
My mother's first cousin.
Because Jackson is small. Of course you're going to see somebody.
One of the queer people that were always on the peripheral. He makes a beeline straight to me. I'm speechless. I am like, I can't believe this. I am shook. And he goes, his number one question was, who are you here with? And I was no, he asked again, looked me in my eye and said, who are you here with? And I pointed my friend out, who was older. So he pulls my friend aside and they have a conversation. He comes back to me and goes, okay, they're safe. I know them. You're okay. You're in good hands. I'm about to leave. And he left. He did not stay in that club with me. He left.
No, you gotta give you some space to have you get your life.
He left. And he was my mom's age. So he was like, I'm not going to stay in here with you. I'm going to go. And I was 18. I was a baby. I was still in high school. But that was the first time.
That's dope. What do you feel the most proud of being Black and queer?
I think that I'm still here. That I took control of my life. I think I saw a lot of Black queer folks around me in Mississippi. Again, this idea of, and this has changed since, but growing up, this idea of living your life as an apology.
Okay.
Overexerting yourself for family and not really talking about your love life and not really talking about your identity and kind of hiding that part of you and only expressing those parts of you in club settings and things like that, and speaking in code and all those things. I did not want to live in that way.
Okay.
I wanted to live my life out loud. I wanted to live my life openly. So Now I'm an educator, I'm an administrator. My students know I'm queer. And they're still knucklehead boys, but they don't make queer jokes around me.
Mm-hmm.
So that level of respect. Um, and just I can live. I can live without questioning who sees me, or can I say this thing in this setting, or can I do this or do that. I'm in Boston, which is hella racist, but but I'm very, very accepted, even within my fraternity. I am very, very accepted within my chapter, and always have been from undergrad to grad.
But since you wanted us to talk about that, so you are a member of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated.
Yes, the latest and greatest fraternity ever created.
Talk to me about talk to me about what sparked your interest in organization and your journey to become an Iota.
Oh, so at Jackson State, there was this president that was trying to merge all three HBCUs in the state of Mississippi. So he was trying to merge all state public institutions, Alcorn State University, Mississippi Valley State University, and Jackson State under one name.
It's about a school or chapter?
No, this was the president of Jackson State University at the time.
Oh, okay.
So we had a town hall, and at the town hall, we were trying to like gather information. By then, this thing was new. We didn't know what this was. We were trying to just gather information. I was a freshman, maybe a sophomore. I was a freshman, and they had all these folks on the panel. Everybody was either against the merger or neutral. There was no pro-merger people in attendance. Nobody was giving that perspective. And this guy named Mikhail Robinson, stood up and said that this is bias.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody here that's pro-merger. It was a very unpopular thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
Because the campus was vehemently against the merger. But he stood up and said it, the unpopular thing. And I said, there's something about him. I want to get to know him more. And as I got to know him more, he was the only Iota on campus.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh, okay. Let me look into this organization he's a part of. After looking into Iota, reading Iota history, I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely the place for me. This is where I want to be. And it was a beautiful, 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 beautiful journey in. Hellish journey in, but beautiful journey in. And my time, I was a chapter president when I first got in. So a neo president, and I just had a really good time. My fraternity brothers really took me into their arms, accepted me, and welcomed me into the Brown and Gold family, which is exactly what that is, a Brown and Gold family.
So people being openly queer is welcomed in Iota.
Oh yes. Oh yes. And that's not to say, so we're not a monolith. I would say that. We're not a monolith where it's like every Iota is all like LGBTQIA plus friendly and we all go to Pride and raves about. Nah,
No.
that is not the case.
Yep.
That is not the case. But speaking from my experience, my line brothers will fight anybody that has something to say about me. My chapter brothers today, I'm the vice president of the grad chapter here in Boston. They will fight anybody that has anything to say about me.
Got it.
Region was with GCR at the time period. Once I went to regional, introduced myself, and Gulf Coast region, I'm sorry. And got to
Gold Coast region?
Gulf Coast region.
Oh, Gulf Coast region.
They will fight anybody that had anything to say about me. And now I'm in Atlantic Coast region, and they will do the same. So like, I've always felt accepted. I've seen other brothers come through and feel accepted.
Mm-hmm.
I brought brothers in that were openly queer and feel accepted. But you know, the fraternity is big. It's composed of many members, and some brothers are on their journey.
Is there something that your organization can do nationally institutionally to make it more welcoming, easier, or equal for people who are queer in Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated?
Definitely. I think it was a good step to make the social media post acknowledging excuse me, acknowledging pride.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a huge step in the right direction. I think we can do more programming in chapters. I think we can do more programming nationally on a national platform around making the space more equitable and accepting to queer members. So yeah, there's a lot more work we could do.
Is there a community of queer Iotas?
Yes, there's a community of every queer Greek, but yes, there is a community.
Well, no. So I ask them because oftentimes when I ask to read this question, they always say yes, and they usually are the ones who are popular, who are part of the group. And for me, community is bigger than just people we like or people we found desirable or people we.
Oh, baby, I'm not popular. I'm not popular.
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying that oftentimes people can conflate friendship with community, and that isn't the same thing, right? Community means like, hey, this is Iota crossing at Morehouse, and he's going to be in Harvard for the summer, so we're going to send him. So I'm going to text Victor because Victor, I want you to love on him. That's community, right? I might not like Victor or know Victor personally, but I know Victor is queer. I know there's a brother of Morehouse is queer, and I want to make sure he has somebody in this network to support him. Oftentimes, Greeks don't have that. Oftentimes, queer Greeks don't have that.
So yes, that happens.
Okay.
I'm going to say the cliche of it happens, queerness or not, it happens. I get those phone calls.
That's true.
And I happen to find out a brother will disclose their sexuality or whatever, but it happens. It happened for me when I moved from Mississippi to here. I contacted, and I was a sweetheart actually. It was like, hey, I'm in this area. Where are the brothers? And she put me in contact with everybody, and they knew nothing of my sexuality at the time period. And there is a community of queer Iotas that look out for each other, that make sure we're okay. Yeah.
So your experience being an Iota and being queer has been pleasurable.
Yeah, pleasant. And I will say I don't count myself as the popular queer Iota. I don't think I'm that.
No, based on your story, I would identify that way.
I'm the I will cuss you out Iota, and I don't care who you are. If you ain't right, you ain't right, and I will cuss you out and let the chips fall where they lie. But
you're gonna go like the fight, so we're not gonna get you all riled up.
Look,
it's good because the experience we've been doing the interviews, and a lot of people's experiences have been different. And depending on where you cross at, and depending on how your experience was coming in, you may not be able to find community, especially around queerness.
Yeah,
bringing your partner and stuff like all these things that I would denote to queerness. Some people don't have access to that space, so it's dope to see that you had a pleasurable experience.
Oh yeah, and I may be unique. I don't know. All I know is I've been extremely blessed in my fraternity with my identity, with who I am as a person. I'm very vocal. I'm very opinionated. And to be accepted the way I have been in a way that I've never been accepted before, is very powerful.
Oh shit. It's great place to end. So Victor, what are you working on? How can we support you? How can we follow you, connect you to people?
What am I working on currently? I wish I was working on something cool. I don't think I am. I'm currently a DIB director, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging director for a charter school here in Boston.
Fancy.
I can't think of anything I'm working on outside of work. I am working to start my own mentorship group for Black and brown boys here in Boston and trying to marry that to include boys in Mississippi. So continue to serve youth here in Boston while also serving youth in Mississippi.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure that out. That's in the very early stages. I really love doing that work. I think a lot of Black boys, queer or not, just need a Black person, a Black man that they can talk to.
Dope.
Excuse me. People can follow me at real REAL_Victor_Terry TERRY. That's my Instagram. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how cool I am. I don't have like all this thing in the fire that I'm
It's
working
not
on.
about being cool. This is not about being cool. This is about making sure people like you have an opportunity to share, so someone like you can feel affirmed by it existing, right?
Yeah.
I remember being a kid not knowing anybody openly queer, part of any organization, right?
Yeah.
And historically speaking, women have experience than men do. Women have an easier time. They are embraced. It's different. So this is not about being cool or popular. This is about you just being you.
Yeah. That's all I know how to be is me.
So we thank you for that. We thank you for sharing, and we thank you for allowing us to be a witness.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
Of course.